Today is January 30th, 2023. Meeting is called to order. We will ask to say the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for being here tonight. We'll just take a moment of silence before we get on our official business. Christian, if you'd do roll call, please.
Trustee Olson. Here. Trustee Wagner.
Here.
Trustee Reister.
Here.
Trustee Fields.
Here.
Trustee Holmes.
Here.
President Pro Tem Keller.
Here.
President Frisbee.
Here. We have an agenda in front of us. Was checked with everybody earlier, and I didn't hear of any additions. Was there any changes? Jim,
No, sir.
changes or additions?
Trustee Wagner, I move to approve and submit.
Trustee Fields, I support.
Motion made by trustee Wagner, support by trustee Fields. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same. We have an agenda in front of us tonight. This is the time for our public official appearances, and I see we have Mr. John Giesler with us tonight. Would you like to speak to the group, or? I would. Thank you, sir.
Exactly. So proud of you, John.
Well, I'm not stupid, but I am slow. Yes, I'm John Gisler. I was the South County County Commissioner as of the first of the year. I no longer represent most of the village of Vicksburg. I still have Brady, so Carl, you'll not get rid of me yet, but everybody that lives in the schoolcraft side, which is what, like 75, 80% of the village, I'll be spending the time I would be spending here probably in Comstock. It's brand new, don't know anything about them, they don't know anything about me, and so I need to make sure I come up to speed as fast as I possibly can there. I'm gonna miss you guys.
We'll miss you too.
You know, you're still the poster child for how to do a village properly. And I will probably be picking your brain occasionally. I'll do it individually, though I won't come to the meeting, because they're just putting together and getting active now. They've had it for a couple of years, but they're getting active now with a DDA in Comstock Township. And the way you guys have handled your DDA affairs in the village, I think are beyond being commendable. I'd like to tap into that experience as best I can and convey it to the folks in Comstock so that they can maybe follow some of the examples you guys have laid down. And whenever the calendar lets me, I'll come back and darken your door. So you're not going to be rid of me, but it will be much less often than it has been. Thank you.
Thank you for coming tonight.
President
John.
Frisbee,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to wish Mr. Gessler happy birthday. I see that just,
Happy birthday, John.
yeah, yeah. That's part of that old timer's disease, but yes, yeah. Happy birthday.
And John, thank you for those words of encouragement. Thank you very much. So for Schoolcraft, we have a new commissioner, right? And her name is Wendy Major. So we look forward to meeting her in the future. Major? Thank you.
I think she'll do well for you. I think she feels pretty much the same way about things in general that I do. Don't know if she's gonna carve her calendar to the point that I did. I did tell her, I said, I do try to sit in on as many of these township and village meetings as possible. I can't tell you I make them all, because I know I don't, but if it's possible, I'll get her. I think she's starting to do some of that now, but, we'll have to wait and see. She's gotta have her own way of doing things, and it may not be the way I think.
All right. Well, thank you, sir. Thank you for that. Now's the time for citizens' comments. If you have any comments on the agenda that's in front of us tonight. I think everyone has a copy of it. Now's the time to do so. If you would like to, just step up to the podium. Jim, we have anybody online raising their hand?
Well, I think, 5 on YouTube and 1 on Zoom, but no one's raising their hand.
We have our approval of our general consent agenda, our council meeting minutes from January 16, 2023, our regular council meeting, it was a special session meeting of January 16, 2023, and warrant reports in the total of $62,211.13, and we have no event requests or correspondence. So we had an opportunity to review the consent agenda and gain a motion to approve or comments to such.
President Frisbee, so moved.
Support.
Motion made by President Pro Tem Keller, support by Trustee Reister. Would you do a roll call, please, Christian?
Trustee Fields,
Yes.
Trustee Holmes,
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller,
Yes.
Trustee Reister,
Yes.
Trustee Wagner,
Yes.
Trustee Olson,
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Now, we have some action items in front of us. We have second quarter general fund amendment approval. I'll let Jim speak to that.
Yes, I think everyone's been through this a few times, except for trustee Fields, but, so we go through each quarter. First 2 quarters, we really focus on the general fund portion of the budget, but we also internally track all the other 5 funds. Second quarter, historically, we present amendments focused on the general fund. So these amendments are when we presented the budget, the fiscal year budget of 22-23 in June, last June. We had a budget approved, and we've now gone through the second quarter, and these are the adjustments or the transparency of where the money is as of mid-January. I mean, the second quarter ended December 31st, but we did it I do it to the date. So it was right up till last Thursday. And we normally approve these as a group. So what happens after, if we get council approval, is Michelle and her team will make these movements, and some are movements of money to different classifications, but as you can see, it's, we estimated our revenue. We usually estimate it a little bit short, just to make sure that we collect everything we believe, and so you'll see more exact numbers, and this will continue and get more fine in the third quarter and ultimately in June when we do the fourth quarter. It'll all be all encompassing of water, sewer, golf, but the significant impacts on the budget, and nothing negative, it's all positive, more revenue than we originally believed in June and that type of situation. But that's what's going on. The other uniqueness this year that hasn't been in years past is we completed the DPW pole barn building. So we carried forward money, and we had a change order there at the end. So that closes this out. I think it's $118,000. That again is within the budget and what we felt. But I'd be happy to answer any questions. It's normal. The difference from, let's say, pre-7 years ago, they simply waited until the last day or the last meeting in the fiscal year. In our computer system, I can hit a button and it would balance it all out, and then it's 80-some pages long. So we just do it by quarter and, again, put a narrative there for transparency.
Yes, sir, please.
Jim, just a quick question regarding the stabilization share. Last council meeting, I believe we appropriated $100,000 to the stabilization fund. Is that correct?
Well, they're two different. We committed $150,000, which we actually did it, I think, in 2018, and every subsequent year since. The council in January has has reaffirmed that commitment of $150,000 to what the name of that local commitment is. You're exactly right, local tax stabilization. What you're reading on this amendment is the state of Michigan, on, industrial, I'm trying to think of what it was 3 years ago and before titled, basically the equipment inside industries that were taxed before. That, those tax laws changed, so then the state, instead of immediately having that impact on local municipalities, they provide money to municipalities under a local stabilization share. So they're not connected.
Okay. It's
This
just,
is a state term under that state, all of these codes listed here are state treasury codes. So we received, revenue so far this year in that amount, $46,319. They have a computing formula that they use, and there is a chance that there'll be additional monies out of that code distributed to municipalities in March. And if that is done again with a good economy and everything, we'll report back to that. But that money is not guaranteed in the future.
okay.
That's
Okay.
state money.
It sounds like what you're talking about, if I remember correct, when I was a business owner, is personal consumption tax, where the municipality has the ability to tax businesses on their capital equipment that they have.
Prior to saving all these meetings on YouTube, I would have taken a shot at this, but I don't want to be wrong. But it has to do with the industrial equipment tax, whatever that was called. Excuse me.
What is that fund typically used for, Jim?
It goes into our general fund just as state
Right.
shared revenue. Historically, I think it was about 80 to 93,000 that in the mid-teens we'd receive from the state under that previous tax. And pretty, our PA 198s dealt with this when we've had some, those incentives in some of the growth that we've had in our industrial park. So just goes to the general fund and hopefully becomes part of the balance in the future.
So this is,
That revenue, I can tell you what was not counted on at all in the budget prep.
right, I remember talking about that, but so we receive it into this fund number and as an allocation to record it that way, and then it gets put into the general fund, or is that part of the general fund?
We receive it in our bank account, and we get a notice from the state, and Michelle will confirm that deposit has been made, and then Michelle confirms that dollar amount's then entered into our BSNA software underneath that state treasury code that we have listed. So,
Right.
and then, yeah.
Any other questions about the amendments? Pretty straightforward with the capital outlay building, we've all talked about that.
There is some stuff where I indicate staff, that's just a staff movement, it wouldn't need council approval, but I still list it there on where that's moving. Usually it's debited in a allocation code that wasn't part of the budget that I prepped, so I'm just having staff move it to the code that I had it prepped in the budget to come from.
We have a crest in front of us to approve the second quarter budget amendments. It says council's desire.
Trustee Wagner, I move that we accept the second quarter budget amendments as proposed.
Trustee Fields, I support.
Trustee Wagner motions and trustee Fields seconds. We'll do a roll call, please. Christian?
Trustee Reister.
Yes.
Trustee Holmes.
Yes.
Trustee Olson.
Yes.
Trustee Fields.
Yes.
Trustee Wagner.
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller.
Yes.
President Brisby.
Yes, motion carries.
And just to clarify, it's the industrial facilities tax, and it's an IFT tax. So this age, it comes back to me. Sitting here thinking. I will
Still
highlight
coming.
it as, and we'll get into more detail on March 20th when we're discussing Village Hall facilities. But which was all pre-approved by the council, you know, we had engineering designs, and then we've prepped the bid work, and we've had those individual votes on those dollars. So the council's aware, in this fiscal year, that $140,000 is not part of the money that has been committed to a new facility. So what we have used is other money that's available. However, the $140,000 is a part of the estimated cost of this project that we're working to make sure these bids come under. So we'll get into more detail on March 20th, but as you look at that, I did want you to know that that's not coming out of any reserve money.
All right, no other questions? I see none. We'll move on to the manager report. Jim?
Yes, as we had mentioned, I think on the 16th, we had scheduled, it was our desire to engage the public more on the master plan. Again, that master plan would be scheduled for implementation or approval by this council in September of 2023, so it still has quite a bit where we're taking in information and developing it. That is to outlay the, if you will, the needs, wants, and wishes of the community and all the support groups for the next 5 years. But on the 17th and 18th, we did have a representative from McKinnon and Associates in the village with staff members with a pre-designed survey that we could hand out. So we acquired that data on the 17th and 18th, and we're using that survey. Last Thursday, we had Teresa, who's normally our customer service, spend time in the village about 6 hours, and will the next 2 Thursdays as well. And she had about 60-some surveys completed this past Thursday, so hopefully that continues as we move on, and then all that will be, data will be accumulated. We also sent a QR code out during the last utility billing, and hopefully people take advantage of that. We'll have the QR code here in a couple weeks out for people that participate in the Iceberg Festival as well. And we'll be spending some of that time during the Iceberg Festival trying to capture input from people, what they want. So I'll pause there if there's any questions on the master plan or.
I appreciate you and your staff taking it to the street, literally to the people, and getting out, and instead of having a defined time, figure out when they're gonna be in the village and going and talking to them. So I think already by the numbers, it's twice as much as, or equivalent to what we gained in the first 3, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, and we'll continue. You'll see, the next item is, I laid out, a tentative schedule for the 23-24 budget, which includes individual contacts with council members, planning commission, DDA, Parks and Rec. This year, I'm gonna expand to some key external stakeholders. We'll have standalone meetings with myself to have input. A lot of those are people who are involved in the village on a regular basis. I wanna make sure that they have the opportunity for input. We'll do what we've done the last few years and have contact with business and building owners in the Downtown Development Association. I'll also be sending out input surveys to our contacts in the industrial park. The last 2 years or since the pandemic, we've had 5 virtual meetings with individual neighborhoods who have organized Facebook pages as part of the budget process. That will continue. But as you can see, and I think it's the week of April 10th, I'll establish, it won't be a council meeting, but it'll be run by staff, a webinar for any village resident to have input virtually on their needs, wants, and wishes on, for the village that they live in, as an additional outreach to solicit input on it. We're also recommending that the council agendas, we do have citizen comments for agenda items only. And we're recommending that during this budget prep season, that the 7A would be citizen comments reference upcoming budget needs, wants, and wishes. And we'll get that communication out to their citizens, to our citizens, as a value if they want to come and give the council their input specific to how the village spends money in the upcoming season is our recommendation. But want to have people's input as we develop it. And as you can see, each area is then outlined, and it's to have the final presentation. I think it's June 26th, which comes rather quick. So, funnest time of the year.
Thank you for being so forward-looking on this and setting up these schedules, and as much time as you do after hours as you do during the day is much appreciated.
That they concur and support the removal of that fence. One, so we're all on the same page. The fence will be removed by DPW, and it's village property, and what we will then scrap that fence at DPW. So far in the first 7 months of this fiscal year, we've scrapped about $1,900 worth of village property. That money then gets put into the general fund, as will the proceeds from the scrapping of this fence will go to the general fund. So, i.e., the fence is owned by the taxpayers, the money will go back into the taxpayers' coffers. So, I just wanted you to be aware that that will happen before spring.
All right, any other questions of staff in regards to where we're at? Well, that takes us, moving right along, it takes us to committee reports. I know the tree committee hasn't met, right? So I'll move on that Parks and Rec. Is there any update? No, you all, we're gonna have the same questions next week, so. The CATS meeting was canceled. Hard. I'm sorry, John's here. Was there a planning commission meeting? There hasn't been, has there?
There wasn't, but I've got a quick comment
Please.
that's specific to the master plan. And at the, I believe I've mentioned this previously, but just because I think all the good work that Jim mentioned that we're staff and council are trying to do in getting more community input in the master plan. Just to put it in perspective, at the December Planning Commission meeting, we were talking about this with McKenna, and one of the committee members was actually very much involved in the previous master plan session. And it was identified that we actually have more citizens participating after 3 of those first planning sessions than they did overall back in, I believe it was 2014, was the last time they did the master plan. So just to put it in perspective, I think again, the fact we're going out and doing this is great, but, lots of good work early on, showed that we did get some decent participation.
Thanks, Rick. There was a sewer meeting, which John attended, and that's what I heard about his losing Schoolcraft Township, which I was saddened, but I knew there was something, changes coming out with the changes the state made. So, we've talked about they're entered into a feasibility study on having their own sewer system. And they, some of the townships put up money, we didn't, Schoolcraft didn't. And their plans, Whiteman, Jones, Frazinski are gonna put the plans out towards the end of March, and April Baker Tilly is gonna do a presentation to the public, in that regard. So that was the only real update. We'll have another update hopefully next Monday as to, our membership in that board. I know we've talked about that in the past. We have no vested interest in South County underground sewer or water. We don't share services. We don't own them and they don't own us, so we're taking a different approach on it, and our legal team is investigating that now for us. So hopefully Monday we'll have something in front of this council. But that's it from the sewer. Is there a fire update you wanted to do?
There's always a fire update. We met last Wednesday. Since then, I met with the apparatus committee last Thursday night, which is myself, Mike Tomlinson, and Chief McMullen, and really trying to identify funds that potentially are going to be available for this new tanker truck that they're looking to purchase. So we met for about 2 hours last Thursday. I am meeting this Thursday with the finance committee to try to go over, and after going through what we did with the apparatus committee, identifying 2 officers or 2 firefighters resigned last week. Unfortunately, there wasn't a whole lot of discussion about it, so I don't really know the circumstances of it, but it was sorry to see the 2 leave, because obviously that's 2 less firefighters than we had the week before. Also found that our bylaws, if one of the members is not present, and even if we have a alternate, they are not a voting member. So Schoolcraft Township last week, their board member was not present. They had an alternate fill in, but he was not allowed to vote. So I think that's something that we're gonna take a look at as far as the bylaws go moving forward, because I don't think it's right that if I can't make a meeting and one of our duly appointed alternates is there, we don't get a vote. Every other board that we're a member of, we have alternates assigned that have voting privileges. So I think it needs to be taken a look at. So there you are.
Thank you.
President Frisbee?
Yes, sir.
If I can, I don't have this but so Mr. Gisler can take back. Today, I needed some information from Kalamazoo County, and the county administrator, Kevin Catlin, got right back to me, and obviously, he's an extremely busy individual, and I told him thank you, but John, if you can, when you get back or see him, let him know that wasn't always the case, and certainly appreciate his responsiveness as always. So I think they got a good guy there.
Yeah, we're very, very fortunate with the level of communication with our other municipalities, and it's good to know that we can get quick answers like that. So now's the time for citizens' comments, to speak to anything they would like, any non-agenda item, anything that's on their mind. Now would be the time to do that. Seeing none, hearing none?
We can ask if anyone desires to speak from the Zoom, if they can, you can hit the raise hand button down below. Give it a few seconds here. I don't see anyone that's hitting raise hand either on Zoom, but we do have people hybriding in to watch it, so.
All right, thank you very much. This is trustees' time. Start with trustee Reister.
Okay. Well, I was very happy to get this schedule, the council budget schedule, because it just gives you an idea of what's coming up, and it's really nice to have that. Plus, went online today to our site and found that you had put on a really nice email for us, and I really appreciated that too. And I didn't have time to study it when I was looking at it, but I will go back and look at it, so I really appreciate that, Jim. Thank you very much.
Trustee Wagner.
Happy to report so far, met with the Chamber of Commerce today. Iceberg is going well in planning so far. We have 2,900 individuals on Facebook alone, either going or interested, which are the two affirmative reactions, I guess it is. So far, just in social media, 2,900 folks interested in the event. That is next Saturday, the 11th, from 2 to 6 p.m. So that'll be really fun. Looking forward to it.
And tickets go
I
on
think
sale.
trustee Wagner forgot to mention that he's challenging all the other trustees to see if they can outdo him in his snowmobile suit, because there was a contest on snowmobile suits. I thought you forgot to mention that, so I might.
I may have, because mine hasn't been ordered yet.
Oh.
You can't order a nostalgic suit.
Yeah, I know.
Well,
I
maybe
wasn't-
you can.
Tim, I wasn't around when nostalgia was a thing, so, unfortunately. But yeah, so the snowsuit fashion show is gonna be one of the highlights. We'll also have a grilled cheese and soup competition, live entertainment, and ice carver from the Ice Guru, which is featured on Food Network as well as the Travel Channel. So we're gonna have some pretty big names in the entertainment, and it's gonna be really fun to experience, so.
February 11th, 2 to 6. Well, next Monday, we have another council meeting, so we'll give a good update going into it, but.
Yep, and preliminary planning with Jim and Chief Sanderson over security and event layout, so moving along.
And the tickets are available.
I believe it's starting February 7th. Tickets are available for pre-purchase of the tasting passports. Yep, for the grilled cheese and soup portion. Everything else is still free and family-friendly. That's the only ticketed or costly portion.
Where
of
would
it.
we get the tickets ahead of time?
They will be available on the Oopsie Daisy website as well as in-store at Oopsie Daisy.
Oh.
Yep, right downtown on Main Street.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Trustee Olson.
Happy birthday again, John. Other than that, I'm good. Yeah, you know, we're getting up there, buddy.
Trustee Holmes.
For me, thanks.
Trustee Fields.
Nice to see the weather is going to cooperate for the Iceberg Festival now, too.
Amen.
With, and other than that, I don't really have anything either.
President Pro Tem Keller.
I'm all good, thank you.
Thank you. I think we all got a letter from an attorney, Craig Rolfe, on behalf of the Lugis. And it was a unsolicited email to the entire council. I appreciate you not responding to it. Just want to let you know that we, as the village, have responded. Our legal teams responded to them, so the action's back in their hands. I want to thank John Giesler. Thank you so much for all you've done for this community. And look forward. Right, well, we appreciate it. Thank you all for the team members attending Saturday's strategic session. I think that was phenomenal. I think you all will see in your email tonight the results, the tally from it. And we're going to be working on putting it together for our next meeting for ultimate review and approval. So thanks for that. And just a note, I know we're 2 years in, we've got a new council member. I just want to throw it out there if there's any changes in committee assignments that anybody has a fancy to take on any other committee assignments. This is the time to do it, think about it. I'll resend the matrix out with all the assignments and who's on it, and you guys look at it and see if there's something you'd like to change or take on in some other responsibility. Other than that, I have nothing more. I appreciate you all for being here tonight. Entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
Support.
All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you.